3 months had passed since the day the galaxy changed forever. The great council chamber of Nexus Prime now sat empty most of the time. Half the species that once filled those seats had declared independence. The other half were busy trying to hold together what remained of their old system. On Earth, President Yoon Seo-jang stood at the podium in the Global Assembly Hall in Seoul. Behind her, a massive screen showed representatives from 47 different worlds, all connected by quantum communications. This was the first official meeting of what they were calling the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Friends, President Jang began. 6 months ago, most of you had never heard of humanity. Today we stand together as equals in the greatest alliance our galaxy has ever known. The screen filled with faces, forms, and figures from across the stars. Some looked like humans. Others were so alien that translation software could barely interpret their words. But all of them shared the same expression. Hope Kektar, the Kethmori representative, spoke first. The Kethmori people will never forget that humans risked everything to save our world. When the Council invasion fleet arrived at our system, they found human ships waiting for them. Captain Wu Jin Lee smiled at the memory. The Council had sent 200 warships to crush the Kethmori rebellion. They found 300 human vessels already in orbit around the Kethmori homeworld. The Council fleet had retreated without firing a single shot. We did not save your world alone, President Jang replied. 17 different species sent ships to defend Kethmoran. That is what real allies do. Admiral Dae Ho Kim appeared on a subscreen from the flagship Seoul's Pride, currently patrolling the Outer Rim territories. Ma'am, I'm pleased to report that Haven Station Alpha is now fully operational. We're receiving refugees from 12 different systems. Haven Station Alpha was humanity's greatest construction project since the Great Wall of China. Built in just 3 months with help from their new allies, it was a massive space station designed to house beings fleeing Council oppression. The station could support 500,000 people from dozens of different species, all living together in harmony. Director Hyojin Park appeared on another screen from Luna Base. The technology sharing programs are exceeding all expectations. Kethmori, crystal growing techniques combined with human manufacturing methods are producing materials we never thought possible. Dr. Sumi Choi joined the conversation from her new laboratory on Haven Station. The cultural exchange programs are even more successful. Human music combined with Velthari harmonics has created art forms that make people from every species cry with joy. But not everyone in the galaxy was celebrating. On the Council world of Hegemon Prime, General Nexthol paced angrily through his command center. Half of his fleet had deserted to join the Liberation Alliance. The other half was barely holding the remaining Council worlds together. Sir, reported his aide, a nervous young officer, 3 more systems have declared independence this week. The rebellion is spreading faster than we can contain it. Nexthol slammed his armored fist on his command console. Impossible. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. Some primitive species cannot destroy everything we have built. Sir, the humans are not primitive, the aide pointed out carefully. Their technology is more advanced than ours. Their ships are faster, their weapons more powerful, their shields stronger. Then we will build better weapons, Nexthol roared. With what resources? The aide asked. 47 systems have stopped sending tribute. Our manufacturing worlds are declaring independence. We barely have enough materials to maintain the ships we already have. The truth was that the Galactic Council's power had always been based on fear and economic control. When species stopped being afraid and stopped paying tribute, the Council had very little left. Meanwhile, on the Kethmori homeworld, young Peklin was playing in a park with her new human friend, a boy named Tai Ho, whose parents worked at the new diplomatic embassy. The 2 children were building sand castles that looked like spaceships. Will there really be peace now? Peklin asked as she shaped a tower with her small blue hands. My dad says so, Taeho replied, adding wings to his sandship. He says the bad guys can't hurt anyone anymore because too many good guys are working together. Their parents watched from nearby benches. Peklin's mother, a crystal sculptor, was teaching Taiho's mother, a human engineer, how to grow art from living minerals. Taeho's father, a diplomat, was learning Kethmori music theory from Pecklin's father. This scene was being repeated on dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy. Species that had been isolated for centuries were finally meeting as equals. Back on Earth, Colonel Ji-Hoon Nam was reviewing intelligence reports in the Global Defense Command. The news was mostly good, but some developments were concerning. "Admiral," he reported to Daeho via quantum communication, "we're detecting some unusual activity in the core council systems. They appear to be concentrating their remaining forces around their most important worlds." "Preparing for a final stand?" Daeho asked. "Possibly, or preparing for a final strike against us." Admiral Daeho considered this information carefully. The human fleet was powerful, but it was also spread thin, protecting dozens of newly independent worlds. If the Council concentrated all their remaining forces for one massive attack, they might still be dangerous. "Double the patrols around Earth and our major allies," he ordered, "and ask our friends if they can contribute additional ships to the defense network." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, the space around Earth filled with vessels from 30 different species. The Velthari sent their most advanced science ships. The Chindari contributed their massive cargo vessels converted into mobile bases. Even species that had never built warships before were sending what they could. Dr. Young-Soo Lim, now serving as the Alliance's chief strategic analyst, was amazed by the response. "Sir, we have over 2,000 ships volunteering for Earth's defense. That's twice the size of the entire human fleet." "It's not about the numbers," President Jiang replied. "It's about what those numbers represent." What they represented was something the galaxy had never seen before. Voluntary cooperation between equals. No species was forced to contribute. No one was threatened or coerced. They were helping because they wanted to help. On Haven Station, Alpha, Commander Seok Jin O was coordinating refugee resettlement when he received an unexpected message. A group of council worlds was requesting to defect together, bringing their entire populations with them. "Ma'am," he reported to Director Park, "the Rigel Collective wants to join the Alliance. All 7 systems complete with their industrial infrastructure. That would triple our manufacturing capacity," Park realized. "But can we trust them?" "They're sending us their complete military codes and defense plans as a gesture of good faith," Seok Jin replied. "Plus detailed records of council crimes they've witnessed over the centuries." The defections were accelerating. Every day brought new species declaring independence from the Council and requesting Alliance membership. The old galaxy of fear and oppression was crumbling faster than anyone had expected, but the most important changes were happening at the personal level. On trading stations throughout Alliance space, beings who had never been allowed to meet were becoming friends. Children from different worlds played together while their parents learned each other's languages and customs. Captain Mi-young Park, now commanding a mixed-species fighter squadron, watched her pilots practice together. Her wingman was a Kethmori, crystal singer whose ship harmonized with the music of her homeworld. Her second-in-command was a Velthari harmonic specialist, whose vessel could create sound-based weapons. "Ready for patrol, Captain?" asked her Kethmori wingman Selkira. "Always ready," Mi-young replied. "Let's go show the galaxy what real teamwork looks like." Their mixed squadron launched from Haven Station and headed for the frontier systems. Behind them, the massive station hummed with activity, as beings from dozens of worlds worked together to build something better than what they had left behind. In the old council chamber on Nexus Prime, Zephyrin sat alone at his podium. Most of the seats were empty now. The few remaining council loyalists met in smaller rooms, trying to figure out how to maintain their power with so little territory left. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Centauri systems have just declared independence. That leaves us with only 37 systems under council control." Zephyrin looked at the empty chamber and sighed. 3,000 years of galactic dominance, ended by species who simply refuse to be afraid anymore. "What are our options?" he asked. "We could try to negotiate with the Alliance for some kind of autonomous territory," the aide suggested. "Or we could relocate to the Outer Rim and try to rebuild." Or, Zephyrin thought to himself, they could learn from their mistakes and try to build something better. but he was not sure his people were ready for that much change. Back on Earth, Admiral Deho stood on the observation deck of the Global Defense Command, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, human ships were patrolling alongside vessels from dozens of other worlds, all working together to protect the peace they had built. Director Hyejin Park joined him at the window. Any regrets about revealing ourselves? The council chamber was so quiet that the only sounds were the hum of life support systems and the nervous breathing of hundreds of alien representatives. Admiral Deho's hologram stood patiently at the central podium, waiting for someone to speak. Finally, Zephyrin found his voice. "You have disabled our defenses and threatened our capital world. This is an act of war." "Actually," Captain Dong Hyun Seo said as his hologram activated several data displays, "this is a legal petition for council review of evidence. Your own laws require you to examine proof of war crimes." Images began appearing on screens throughout the chamber. The first showed the peaceful world of Rithka before the council intervention. Beautiful cities, green forests, and clean oceans filled the display. "The Rithkans were contacted by council representatives 6 months ago," Dong Hyun explained. "They were offered the usual choice: join the council or face consequences." The next image showed the same world after the council's peacekeeping operation. The cities were ruins, the forests were burning, and the oceans were black with ash and debris. "When the Rithkans asked for more time to consider your offer," Dong Hyun continued, "you gave them 6 hours to surrender completely or be destroyed." Several representatives began shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The official records showed the Rithka operation as a successful intervention against dangerous extremists. "This is propaganda," shouted General Nexthul. "The Rithkans were building weapons of mass destruction." Dr. Sumi Choi's hologram appeared next to the display. "Actually, General, we have the complete council intelligence files on Rithka. Would you like me to read the real reason for the invasion?" She activated her datapad and began reading. "Target species has developed advanced mining technology that could threaten council resource monopolies. Recommend immediate intervention before they achieve spaceflight capability." The chamber erupted in nervous whispers. That was not what most representatives had been told about the Rithka operation. The Rithkans were not building weapons, Dr. Sumi continued. They were building better tools for mining their own resources that the council wanted to control. More images appeared on the screens. World after world showed the same pattern. Peaceful species contacted by the council, demands made, resistance met with overwhelming force. 47 species in the past 1,000 years, Captain Dong Hyun announced. All of them labeled as dangerous extremists or terrorist states. All of them destroyed for the same real reason. They had something the council wanted. Commander Seok Jin-O's hologram joined the presentation. "We have detailed files on each operation. Council communications, battle plans, resource extraction schedules. Everything has been recorded." Velthari Representative Celiana began speaking in her musical language, her words translated for the chamber. "My people were told these operations were necessary for galactic peace. Are you saying this was false?" "Not false," Admiral Deho replied. "Just incomplete. The council does maintain peace, but only by destroying anyone who might disturb that peace." Dr. Haewon Kim's hologram appeared with more ancient data crystals. "We've also recovered historical records that show how this system developed. The original 12 council species started as legitimate governments, but over time they became something else." The screens now showed documents that were over 2,000 years old, treaties, agreements, and constitutional principles that looked nothing like the current council structure. "The original council was supposed to be a defensive alliance," Dr. Haewon explained, "equal partners working together for mutual protection. But gradually, the stronger species began absorbing the weaker ones." "This is ancient history," Zephyron protested. "The modern council operates under different principles." "The same principles," Commander Seok-jin corrected. "Absorb what you can, destroy what you can't control." Major Yejin Kwan activated another display showing more recent documents. "These are planning files for something called Operation Final Harvest. Would you like to explain this to the Chamber Council leader?" Zephyrin's face went pale. Operation Final Harvest was supposed to be classified at the highest levels. We don't know what you're talking about. He lied. Ye Jin began reading from the stolen documents. Phase 1. Eliminate all species showing signs of technological independence. Phase 2. Force integration of remaining populations into council labor systems. Phase 3. Complete cultural homogenization within 50 years. The chamber was now filled with panicked voices in dozens of languages. Many representatives were realizing they had never seen these documents before. The council's inner circle had been making plans without telling the full membership. 47 species targeted for elimination, Yejin continued, including several that are already council members but have become too independent. She highlighted names on the list. The Velthari delegation gasped when they saw their own species marked for cultural adjustment. The Chindari representative turned green when his people were listed under resource optimization. This cannot be real, shouted the hegemony ambassador. We are founding members of the council. You are founding members, Admiral Deho agreed. But according to these documents, even founding species are not safe if they become inconvenient. Dr. Sumi activated another display showing population statistics. Over the past 3,000 years, the galaxy's biodiversity has dropped by 60%. Hundreds of unique cultures have been eliminated or absorbed. Cultural diversity is inefficient, General Nexthal growled. Unity creates strength. Unity created by force creates only fear, Fleet Admiral Sang Min replied, and fear creates resistance. Captain Wujin Li's hologram appeared with military analysis charts. Speaking of resistance, we should mention that you're not the only ones who have been watching the council. The displays now showed a star map with dozens of systems marked in blue. These are all species that have been secretly resisting council expansion. Some have been hiding for centuries. Impossible, Veltar whispered. Our intelligence networks cover the entire galaxy. Your networks cover the systems you know about, Wu Jin corrected. We've been helping coordinate a hidden network of free species for the past 50 years. Zephyrin was now openly panicking. How many ships do you have? How many allies? Enough. Admiral Deho replied simply. The truth was hitting the council. Representatives like a wave. They were not the unquestioned rulers of the galaxy they thought they were. Entire civilizations had been operating outside their control for decades. What do you want from us? Asked a small, frightened representative from a species that had joined the council only recently. We want you to choose, Dr. Sumi answered. You can continue supporting a system based on fear and oppression, or you can help us build something better. And if we refuse? General Nexthal demanded. Admiral Deho looked directly at the general. Then you can try to enforce your will with disabled weapons and ships that can't target our fleet. Around the chamber, more and more representatives were beginning to understand their situation. The balance of power had shifted completely in a single day. The Velthari delegation stood up together. Ciliana spoke for all of them. The Velthari Republic formally withdraws from the Galactic Council and requests to join any alliance based on equality and mutual respect. As do the Chindari, announced their tree-like representative. The hegemony wishes to review all council documents before making any decisions, Veltar said carefully. One by one, species delegations began declaring independence from the council, or demanding reviews of classified documents they had never been allowed to see. General Nexthal watched his political alliance crumbling in real time. This is rebellion. Treason. We will crush all of you. With what fleet? Asked Captain Mi Young Park, whose hologram had just appeared. The one that can't get target locks on our ships? Fleet Admiral Sang Min activated a final display. Council. Representatives, you have a choice to make. You can try to maintain the old system of control through fear, or you can help us build a new system based on cooperation. We will never surrender to primitives, Nexthal roared. Then you'll surrender to equals, Admiral Deho said calmly. Because whether you like it or not, the galaxy just changed forever. Outside the chamber windows, human ships continued their silent vigil around Nexus Prime. But now they were not alone. Ships from dozens of other species were decloaking around the council capital. all flying flags of independence. The age of the Galactic Council was ending. Something new was about to begin. The Great Council Chamber of Nexus Prime had never seen anything like this before. Emergency sessions were common, but the panic in the air was something new. Council leader Zephyron called for order as representatives from hundreds of species filled their seats. "We are here to authorize immediate action against the Kethmori rebellion," Zephyron announced. "Intelligence reports suggest they have formed an alliance with unknown forces." Ambassador Veltar stood at his podium, reviewing the morning's reports. "Honored members, our survey fleets have encountered strange resistance in 15 sectors. Ships appearing from nowhere, then vanishing again. Our forces request immediate reinforcement." Council member Krixtal chimed with concern. "What kind of ships? Do we know who is helping these rebels?" "Unknown technology," Veltar replied. "Our sensors cannot track them properly. They appear to use advanced stealth systems we have never encountered." In the back of the chamber, the war-loving Nexthurians were getting excited. General Nexthul pounded his armored fist on his seat's armrest. "Unknown enemies mean unknown technologies to capture. I vote for immediate full-scale assault." Many council members nodded in agreement. The galaxy belonged to them, and anyone who challenged their authority had to be destroyed. It was the way things had always been. In favor of Operation Final Hammer against rebel forces, Zephyrin called for the vote. Lights began blinking around the chamber as representatives cast their votes. The count was climbing toward the two-thirds majority needed for military action. In minutes, the largest fleet in galactic history would be unleashed against the Kethmori and their mysterious allies. That was when the impossible happened. Space around Nexus Prime began to shimmer like heat waves on a summer day. The distortions grew larger and larger until suddenly, they were not distortions at all. They were ships. Massive, sleek warships that looked like nothing in the Council's databases. 1,000 human vessels appeared simultaneously around the Council's capital world. Each ship was over a kilometer long, covered in angular armor that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols were painted on their hulls in bright colors. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout Nexus Prime. Defense platforms charged their weapons but found themselves unable to get targeting locks on the mysterious fleet. "Impossible," shouted Veltar. "Our sensors show nothing there." "Then explain what we're seeing," Krixtal chimed frantically. On the bridge of the flagship Soul's Pride, Admiral Daeho Kim sat calmly in his command chair. After 200 years of waiting, this moment had finally arrived. "Admiral," reported Captain Wu Jin Lee from the communications station, "all human ships are in position. The Council's defense fleet is trying to surround us, but they're moving, too slowly. Broadcasting on all Council frequencies," added Lieutenant Bo Young Kang. "They're receiving our transmission request." Daeho straightened his uniform and walked to the holographic projector at the center of the bridge. "Open the channel." In the council chamber, a shimmering blue hologram appeared above the central podium. It showed a middle-aged human male in a crisp military uniform. His dark eyes surveyed the chamber with calm confidence. The alien representatives stared in shock. Most had never seen a human before, since Earth was supposed to be a dead world. "Honored council members," Admiral Daeho said in perfect galactic standard, "I am Admiral Daeho Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. We formally request to address this body regarding your proposed action against our allies, the Kethmori people." Zephyrin's jaw dropped so far it nearly hit his podium. "This is impossible. Earth is a dead world. Your species destroyed itself 2 centuries ago." "Earth has been very much alive," Daeho replied calmly. "We simply chose not to answer your calls until now. We have been listening, however, to everything." The chamber filled with confused voices in dozens of languages. Some representatives were demanding explanations. Others were calling for immediate attack. A few were trying to leave their seats to run for the exits. "Silence," roared General Nexthul, his voice echoing through the chamber. "I don't care what world you're from. You dare bring weapons into council space, You will be destroyed. Deho's expression did not change. General, I suggest you check your tactical displays before making threats. On screens throughout the chamber, tactical officers were reporting the same impossible information. The human ships were not just surrounding Nexus Prime. Similar fleets were appearing around every major council world simultaneously. Sir, whispered Veltar to Zephyron, they have ships at our homeworlds too. Thousands of ships. How is this possible? Fleet Admiral Sangmin Yoon's hologram appeared next to Deho's. His expression was equally calm, but his words carried the weight of authority. Council members, you are looking at the result of 200 years of preparation. While you believed humanity was extinct, we have been very busy indeed. What do you want? Demanded Zephyron. Are you here to conquer us? We want to talk, Deho replied simply. Specifically, we want to present evidence of council war crimes to this body. The chamber exploded in outraged voices. War crimes? The Galactic Council was the force of peace and order in the galaxy. How dare these primitive humans make such accusations? Captain Dong Hyun Seo materialized as a third hologram. His arms were full of data pads and recording devices. Honored representatives, we have compiled extensive documentation of council activities over the past 2 centuries. What kind of documentation? Asked a Velthari representative, her musical voice trembling with fear. Video recordings of the destruction of Rithka, Dong Hyun replied. Audio intercepts of final solution planning meetings. Stolen council files detailing genocide operations. 200 years of evidence. Several species representatives began to look uncomfortable. The Velthari delegation started whispering among themselves. The Chindari representative activated his personal communicator, probably calling his homeworld for instructions. This is preposterous, General Nexthul bellowed. The Council brings peace and order to the galaxy. Everything we do is legal. Legal? According to whose laws? Asked Major Yejin Kwan, who had just joined the holographic conference. The laws you wrote to justify your actions? Dr. Sumi Choi appeared as another hologram, carrying what looked like ancient data crystals. We have recovered historical records that were supposedly lost. Records showing how the Council really began. Would the Chamber like to see them? Zephyron was beginning to panic. Guards, security, arrest these what? Admiral Deho asked politely. These representatives of a sovereign world requesting to address this body? I believe that is legal under your own laws. Commander Seok Jin-O's hologram flickered into existence. Actually, sir, I should mention that we've been reviewing council laws for the past 50 years. Did you know that any world with spacefaring technology has the right to petition for council membership? Earth is not eligible, Zephyron protested. You're a primitive species. We have faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and a fleet of 1,000 advanced warships, Deho pointed out. How exactly are we primitive? Around the chamber, more and more representatives were beginning to look nervous. The humans were not acting like conquerors, they were acting like lawyers. Furthermore, continued Commander Seok Jin, Council law states that any evidence of member species committing genocide must be reviewed by this body. We have that evidence. General Nexthul had heard enough. I don't care about your evidence. Attack! All Council forces, attack these invaders immediately! The General's order was transmitted to every Council military unit in the system. Hundreds of warships began moving toward the human fleet, weapons charging for battle. Admiral Deho sighed. I was hoping we could do this the peaceful way. What happened next took exactly 37 seconds. Every human ship in the Nexus Prime system opened fire simultaneously, but they did not target Council vessels. Instead, their weapons struck every defense platform, orbital weapon, and military installation around the planet. Not a single Council ship was destroyed, but every single Council weapon was disabled with surgical precision. In the chamber, tactical officers stared at their screens in disbelief. Sir, one of them reported to Zephyron, all planetary defenses are offline. Military command is offline. Even the emergency defense satellites are offline. How? whispered Veltar. "We've been studying your technology for 2 centuries, Fleet," Admiral Sangmin explained. "We know exactly how everything works, and more importantly, we know how to break it." The council chamber fell completely silent. Outside the windows, human ships hung in space like dark angels, their weapons still glowing from the demonstration of power. Admiral Deho's hologram looked around the chamber. "Now then, shall we discuss those war crimes?" Ambassador Inho An floated through the airlock of the hidden space station. The artificial gravity kicked in as he entered the main corridor, and his feet touched the metal floor. This place did not appear on any galactic maps. It was a secret meeting point built by humans and their allies deep in an asteroid field. "Welcome, friend Inho," said Kektar, the Kethmori diplomat. His blue skin was darker than usual, a sign of stress among his people. "Thank you for coming so quickly." Inho followed Kektar through the station's corridors. The walls were covered with art from dozens of different worlds. Human paintings hung next to Kethmori crystal sculptures and Velthari music stones. This place represented something the Galactic Council claimed was impossible: different species working together as equals. "How bad is the situation?" Inho asked as they walked. "Very bad," Kektar replied. "Council survey ships arrived yesterday. They are scanning our defenses and counting our population. The invasion fleet will come within 3 days." They entered a conference room where representatives from 4 different species were waiting. Besides the Kethmori, there were delegates from the Chindari, the Thekmorans, and the Velthari. All of them were species that had refused to join the Galactic Council. "The Council is moving faster than we expected," explained Velthari representative Ciliana, her translator device converting her musical language into words. "Our intelligence networks report similar buildup around all our worlds." Inho sat down at the table. For 50 years, these species had been humanity's secret allies. They traded resources and information while staying hidden from Council attention. Now that protection was ending, "What does Earth Command say?" asked the Chindari delegate, a being that looked like a walking tree covered in leaves. "President Jiang is meeting with the Global Council today," Inho replied. "The decision will be made within hours." Back on Earth, the Global Council chamber in Seoul was filled with representatives from every nation. President Eun Seo-jang stood at the central podium, looking at faces from around the world. These were the people who had kept humanity's greatest secret for 2 centuries. "The situation is simple," she began. "Our allies are about to be destroyed. We can save them, but only by revealing our existence to the entire galaxy." General Hyun-woo Kim stood up from his seat. "Ma'am, our forces are ready. 1,000 ships can reach the Kethmori system in 6 hours. We can stop the Council invasion." "And then what?" asked the representative from Brazil. "Once we attack Council forces, they'll send everything they have against Earth." Admiral Deho activated a holographic display above the Council table. It showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy. "We've been preparing for this possibility for 200 years, he explained. "Our ships are already in position around every major Council world. We can disable their entire fleet simultaneously." Director Hai-Jin Park added more details. "Human technology is 50 years ahead of anything the Council has. Our weapons, shields, and engines are all superior. We've had time to study their weaknesses while they thought we were dead." The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued for continued secrecy. Others demanded immediate action. The decision would affect not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, in a small school on the Kethmori homeworld, a young child named Peklin was drawing pictures. Her teacher had told the class about the strange beings called humans who lived on a distant world called Earth. The humans sent beautiful music and art to the Kethmori people. Peklin's drawing showed her world on fire, with dark ships in the sky. In the corner, she drew a small human ship coming to help. She did not know that similar scenes were happening on Council worlds across the galaxy. But children always seemed to understand things that adults missed. "Teacher," Peklin asked, "will the humans really come if we're in trouble?" The teacher looked at the child's drawing and felt her heart break. "I hope so, little one. I hope so." Back in the Seoul Council chamber, President Jang was reading reports from the intelligence services. The news was getting worse by the hour. The council is planning something called Operation Final Harvest, she announced to the chamber. Intelligence suggests they want to eliminate all potential threats within the next 5 years. How many species are on their target list? Asked the representative from Canada. Dr. Sumi Choi, attending as an advisor, answered from her seat. 47 species have been marked for elimination. 15 will be contacted this year and given the usual choice: join or die. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The council was preparing the largest genocide in galactic history. If we don't act now, Admiral Daeho said quietly, billions of innocent beings will die, including us. Humanity is at the top of their target list. President Yang called for a vote. Representatives pressed buttons on their desks. The results appeared on the main display. 847 votes for action, 23 against, 15 abstentions. The motion carries, President Jang announced. Admiral Kim, you are authorized to implement Operation Thunderclap. In space around the Kethmori homeworld, Captain Mi-young Park sat in her fighter cockpit. Her squadron had been watching the Council survey ships for 2 days. Soon those ships would learn they were not alone. All units, this is Dragon Leader, she broadcast on the secure channel. Operation Thunderclap is authorized. Repeat, Thunderclap is go. Similar messages were being sent to human ships throughout the galaxy. After 200 years of hiding, humanity was about to announce its presence to the universe. On the secret space station, Ambassador Inho received an encrypted message on his personal communicator. He read it quickly, then looked up at the other delegates with a smile. Earth has made its decision, he announced. Help is coming. Kektar's blue skin brightened with hope. How long until your ships arrive? They're already here, Inho replied. They've been watching over you for months. As if responding to his words, the space around the station filled with shimmering air. Hundreds of human ships decloaked simultaneously, their sleek forms reflecting the light of nearby stars. The Kethmori delegate stared in amazement. So many ships. How long have you been preparing for this? 200 years, Inho answered. Ever since we first learned the truth about the Galactic Council. On the Kethmori homeworld, young Peklin was in her bedroom when her mother called her to the window. In the sky above their city, strange ships were appearing as if made from starlight itself. Look, little one, her mother said with tears of joy in her eyes. The humans kept their promise. Peklin held up her drawing to compare it with the real scene outside. The human ships looked exactly like she had imagined them. Sometimes children really did understand things better than adults. In the Global Defense Command on Earth, Admiral Daeho watched as reports came in from across the galaxy. Every human ship was in position. The moment of truth had arrived. Sir, called Captain Wu Jin from the communication station. We're receiving surrender requests from Council survey ships at 12 locations. They want to withdraw without a fight. Negative, Daeho replied. Let them report back to their commanders. We want the Council to know exactly what they're facing. Director Haejin approached the Admiral's command chair. Are you ready for this? Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back to the quiet life. Daeho looked at the tactical displays showing human ships protecting allied worlds throughout the galaxy. We were never meant for a quiet life. We were meant for this. The long silence was ending. The galaxy was about to meet humanity. Captain Wu Jin Lee floated in the command chair of his stealth ship, the Ghost Walker. Through the viewing port, he could see the beautiful blue and white planet called Rithka. Its cities sparkled like jewels in the sunlight. In 12 hours, those cities would be burning. Recording everything, sir, said Chief Engineer Tae Young-song from his station. Full visual and audio capture of what's about to happen. Wu Jin nodded but felt sick in his stomach. The people on Rithka had no idea what was coming. The Galactic Council had branded them as dangerous extremists for refusing to join their organization. The real reason was simpler. The Rithkans had discovered large deposits of rare metals that the Council wanted. Sir, The Council fleet is moving into attack position, reported Communications Officer Jae-hyun Park. 200 Council warships surrounded the peaceful planet. They were painted in bright colors and covered with symbols of peace and harmony. The Council always made their wars look like mercy missions. On the planet's surface, the Wreathcons were probably confused. Yesterday, Council ambassadors had been offering friendship and protection. Today, those same ambassadors were demanding immediate surrender. Incoming transmission from the Council flagship, Jae-hyun announced. Put it on speakers, Woo-jin ordered. The voice that filled the Ghostwalker's bridge was smooth and reasonable. People of Wreathka, this is Admiral Nexustar of the Galactic Council Peace Fleet. You have been classified as a threat to galactic stability. Surrender now and your lives will be spared. Woo-jin knew what would happen next. The Wreathcons would try to negotiate. They would ask for more time, offer compromises, beg for mercy. The Council would refuse everything. This was all theater, a show to make the Council feel better about what they were about to do. Sir, Tae-young called out, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Council ships. They're charging their main weapons. The Ghostwalker's computers recorded everything. Every word, every energy reading, every moment of the coming massacre. Back on Earth, humans were building a detailed record of Council crimes. When the time came to reveal the truth, they would have evidence that could not be denied. Far across the galaxy, Dr. Sumi Choi sat in her laboratory on Luna Base. She was not watching the battle at Wreathka. Instead, she was deep in the Council's own historical records, documents that had been stolen by human hackers over many years. The pattern is always the same, she muttered to herself as she read. Contact, offer protection, demand resources, destroy resistance. Her screen showed the true history of the Galactic Council. 3,000 years ago, it had been a real democracy with only 12 member species. But slowly, those 12 species began to absorb their neighbors. They offered protection from imaginary threats, then demanded payment for that protection. Any species that grew too powerful or refused to pay was eliminated. The Council called it maintaining galactic stability. But Sumi could see it for what it really was, organized crime on an interstellar scale. Doctor, called her assistant Dr. Young-soo Lim, you need to see this. Sumi looked at the new document on her screen. It was marked Top Secret Final Solution Protocol. They have a list, Young-soo explained. Every species in the galaxy that might someday become a threat to Council power. Guess what's at the top of the list? Sumi's blood ran cold. Humanity. The original plan was to wait for us to destroy ourselves, Young-soo continued. But if we survive too long, they plan to intervene. The file says human creativity and independence make us extremely dangerous to Council stability. Back on the Ghostwalker, the massacre had begun. The Council ships opened fire on Wreathka's cities without warning. Brilliant beams of energy struck government buildings, spaceports, and communication centers. The Wreathcons tried to fight back with their small defense fleet, but they were outnumbered 50-1. Sir, the planet is trying to surrender, Jae-hyun reported. The Council ships are not responding to surrender calls, Tae-young added. They're continuing the bombardment. Woo-jin watched in horror as an entire civilization died before his eyes. The Council was not interested in conquest or surrender. They wanted complete destruction. The Wreathcons had committed the ultimate crime. They had said no to the galactic government. On Earth, Admiral Dae-ho stood in the Global Defense Command Center. Screens around the room showed human ships positioned throughout the galaxy. Every ship was recording similar scenes of Council brutality. How many civilizations have they destroyed? Asked Director Hee-jin Park. We've confirmed at least 200 in the past 1,000 years, replied Colonel Ji-hoon Nam, head of intelligence. Probably more. They're very good at hiding their crimes. President Yoon Seo-jang entered the command center. She looked tired. Leading a planet was hard enough without keeping the existence of an entire galactic civilization secret from your own people. The Keth Mori situation is getting worse, she announced. Our allies report that Council survey ships are already in their system. The invasion force will arrive within days. "Ma'am, we have to act," urged General Hyun-woo Kim. "The Keth Mori have been our friends for 50 years. We can't let them die like the Wreathcons." Daeho studied the strategic displays. 1,000 human warships against the entire Galactic Council fleet. The numbers looked bad, but humans had advantages the Council did not know about. "Our technology is more advanced," he said quietly. "Our ships are faster, our weapons more powerful, our defenses stronger. But once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back." Hyjin nodded. 200 years of secret preparation will be exposed. The galaxy will know that humanity survived and has been watching them. "The question is," President Jiang said, "are we ready to take responsibility for what comes next?" On Luna Base, Lieutenant Bo-young Kang was monitoring Council communications. Suddenly, her equipment picked up something that made her heart race. "Admiral, priority message," she called to her commanders. "The Council is accelerating all their expansion plans. They want to eliminate 15 species within the next 2 years." The message was clear. The Galactic Council was planning the largest genocide in history. Billions of innocent beings would die unless someone stopped them. Back in space, the Ghostwalker finished recording the destruction of Rithka. The planet's surface was covered in fires and radiation. Nothing moved in its cities. An entire species had been erased from existence in just 6 hours. "Sir," Tae-young said quietly, "transmission coming in from home base." Wu Jin activated the secure channel. Admiral Daeho's voice filled the bridge. "All stealth units, this is command. Prepare for Operation Thunderclap. We are moving to active status. Repeat, we are moving to active status." For the first time in 200 years, humanity was about to reveal itself to the galaxy. The long watch was ending. The real fight was about to begin. Wu Jin looked at his crew. They were young people who had been born during the secret years. They had trained their whole lives for this moment. "You heard the Admiral," he told them. "Signal all ships in our sector. Tell them the Ghostwalker sends its regards to the Galactic Council." Across the galaxy, similar messages were being sent. 1,000 human ships began moving toward their target destinations. The Council had no idea what was coming for them. In the ruins of Rithka, nothing moved except the wind carrying ash and radiation. But in the darkness of space around the dead world, human sensors recorded everything. The evidence of Council crimes was mounting. Soon the galaxy would see the truth. Soon the Watchers would become the warriors. The Great Hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with the voices of 1,000 different species. Ambassador Veltar adjusted his breathing apparatus and looked at the data pad in his scaled hands. Today was like any other Council meeting day. Boring reports about dead worlds and failed species filled most of the agenda. "Next item," announced Council Leader Zephyron, his voice echoing through the massive chamber. "The annual Dead Worlds Report." Veltar stood up from his seat. His people, the hegemony, had been keeping track of dead planets for over 3,000 years. It was not a happy job, but someone had to do it. "Honored Council members," Veltar began, "this year we mark 47 worlds as officially extinct. Most died from wars or destroyed their own environments. Some just stopped talking to us and went silent." The crowd barely listened. Dead worlds were common. Every year, dozens of species killed themselves off before they could join the galactic community. It was the way of things. "Among the silent worlds," Veltar continued, "we have Sol 3, also called Earth by its former inhabitants. The humans stopped responding to our signals 200 years ago." Council member Krixtal, a being made of living crystal, chimed softly. "What was their last message?" Veltar checked his notes. "Something about preparing for the future. Very basic radio signals. Nothing important. Our experts believe they destroyed themselves in nuclear war, like most primitive species do." Several Council members nodded. Nuclear war was the most common way young species ended their existence. The humans had been showing all the warning signs when contact was first made. "Any objections to marking Earth as archaeologically protected?" Zephyrin asked the chamber. Nobody spoke up. Earth's file was closed. The planet would be left alone for a few thousand years, Then maybe some researchers would visit to study the ruins. Far away from Nexus Prime, on a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star, Admiral Dae-Ho Kim stood in the war room of the Global Defense Command. The walls were covered with screens showing space around Earth. Every screen showed the same thing, empty space, but Dae-Ho knew better. "Status report," he said to the young officer beside him. "All fleets are in position, sir," replied Captain Woo Jin Lee. 1,000 ships ready and waiting, all stealth systems active. Dae-Ho nodded. 200 years of work were about to pay off. When the aliens first contacted Earth, most world leaders wanted to join their Galactic Council right away. But a few smart people asked important questions. Why did the aliens want Earth to join so badly? What happened to species who said no? Director Hyojin Park entered the war room. She had been in charge of the Global Defense Initiative since it began. Her gray hair showed her age, but her eyes were still sharp and alert. "The council just finished their meeting," she told Dae-Ho. "They marked us as officially dead. Earth no longer exists in their records." "Perfect," Dae-Ho said with a small smile. "How long until Operation Silent Vigil is complete?" 3 more months, Yejin replied. "Our last stealth ships will be in position around all major alien worlds by then." For 2 centuries, humanity had been very busy. While the galaxy thought Earth was dead, human ships had been watching and learning. They intercepted alien messages, studied their technology, and most importantly, discovered the truth about the so-called peaceful Galactic Council. Captain Woo Jin pulled up a star map on the main screen. Red dots marked council worlds. Blue dots marked human ships watching them. "Sir, we just received another report from the reconnaissance teams," Woo Jin said. "The council is planning another intervention in the Centauri sector. A species called the Kethmori refuses to join them." Dae-Ho's face grew serious. He had seen what council interventions really meant. The aliens would arrive with overwhelming force and give the Kethmori a choice: join the council or be destroyed. If the Kethmori chose to fight, their world would be bombed from orbit. If they surrendered, their resources would be slowly stolen over the next few centuries. Dr. Sumi Choi, the head xenobiologist, was studying alien communications at her workstation. She had spent decades learning their languages and understanding their true nature. "Admiral," she called out, "you need to see this." Dae-Ho walked over to her station. The screen showed intercepted messages between council leaders. "They're planning something big," Sumi explained. "Not just the Kethmori intervention. They're preparing for a major expansion. 15 species are going to be contacted in the next 5 years." "And if those species refuse to join?" Dae-Ho asked, though he already knew the answer. "The council will destroy them," Sumi said quietly. "They call it the Final Solution Protocol. Any species that might become a threat is eliminated before they can develop space travel." The war room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Galactic Council was not a peaceful organization. It was a machine that consumed entire civilizations. Hyejin looked at the star map with its blue and red dots. "Our intelligence network spans half the galaxy now. We know about the secret prisons, the forced labor camps, the cultural destruction programs. The Council has been doing this for thousands of years." "What about our allies?" asked Woo Jin. "The Kethmori are still holding out," Hyejin replied. "They've been secretly trading with us for 50 years, raw materials for human art and music. They love our culture." Dae-Ho smiled at that. Humans had something the galaxy had never seen before: true creativity. Every other species in the council had been homogenized, their unique cultures slowly erased. But humanity had stayed hidden and kept their diversity. "There are others too," Sumi added. 3 more species have made secret contact with us. They're all afraid of the council but don't know how to resist." The Admiral walked back to the main display. 1,000 human warships were hidden throughout the galaxy. Each ship was more advanced than anything the council had ever built. Human technology had developed along different paths, focused on efficiency and power rather than show and ceremony. "Sir," said Lieutenant Bo Young Kang from the communication station. "We just intercepted an urgent council transmission. They're moving up the timeline for the Kethmori intervention. Attack begins in 1 week." The room tensed. The Kethmori were good people who had helped humanity for decades. They had shared their advanced materials in exchange for human music and art. More importantly, they had children who drew pictures of their world and sent them to human friends. Daeho made his decision. "Contact President Jiang. Tell her it's time. The galaxy is about to learn that Earth is very much alive." Hayajin nodded and activated her secure communication device. Across the planet, similar conversations were happening in every major capital. The waiting was over. In space, completely invisible to alien sensors, Captain Mi Young Park sat in the command chair of her stealth fighter. Her squadron had been watching the Council's main fleet for months. Soon, they would reveal themselves. Silent vigil was about to end. The galaxy was about to meet humanity.